Hey creators, in this brand new episode of the Web3 Creators Podcast, we have Ian Friend with us and we discuss building in the bear market, tokenomics, cross-chain bridges, and everything that it takes to not only survive but thrive when building in the bear market in Web3. So stick with us to the end and you know the drill. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. See you inside.
You're listening to the Web3 Creators Podcast, where we speak to the brightest minds and builders in crypto, DeFi, NFTs, and the metaverse. Our goal is to give you the absolute best tools for building a thriving business in the Web3 space. Now, here's your host, Hernan Arver. Let's start creating.
What's up, creators? Brand new episode of the Web3 Creators Podcast. And I have with me, nonetheless, then Ian Friend from the Ferrum Network. How are you,
Hey.
Ian?
Hi. Hey, everybody. I'm doing well. How are you?
Great to have you, man. It's a real honor and pleasure. We've gone back a long while, but we have very few live sessions. So I really treasure our moment together here. And I want to get all your story. We want to talk, interoperability, Ferrum. But first of all, how are you? How are you today?
Doing well. Yeah. Thank you for having me on. It's really cool actually to be on this podcast because, like you said, you and I have known each other for years. I think we've had calls in the past together. I know you've been a part of the Ferrum community for a long time, so we really appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm a long-standing member. I jumped through what there was the Gem Hunters. That was a recommendation, and I really went in, and that was actually my experience with the launchpads, which then inspired me to build EOS Starter on EOS. So that was just as a note, and also so I also got Nick on a previous episode, which makes you guys the first returning, not you personally, but Ferrum is like the first returning guest to the show. So it speaks to how highly I think of you guys.
Oh, I really appreciate that, and I know Nick loved being on the podcast. I'm happy to be here. We have a great team, so it's awesome to be able to showcase the different people. You know what I mean, and have different people on these kind of things. But yeah, really appreciate your time.
Yeah, and I think as the team grows, it's also kind of it's great to see a lot of people in the team being speaking publicly for Ferrum and being the public face versus having this one major brand superstar which everyone turns to for a specific project. How do you view that? Would you rather be kind of the leading the spectrum, or you also for decentralizing kind of the public image of a project?
I mean, decentralizing it's so important, and we're just very fortunate to have a number of people on the team. Because look, it's not easy. I mean, not everybody has the personality for it. They don't have the interest in going out and talking about Ferrum, or in a lot of cases, their time is actually better spent doing other things like coding or something. So for the long time, in the early days of Ferrum, it was really just me and my co-founder and a few other people. I was the guy who was going out there and doing these things, and I love doing it. I'm happy to do it. But the reality is, my skill set, my background, I'm just one person. I'm limited. So when we have someone like Nick Odio, who brings a whole different perspective, whole different experience, mindset, skill set, role within the company is different, that adds a ton of value. We have someone like Taha, who maybe doesn't go on as often, out there quite as often as Nick or myself. But when he does, he's bringing his unique perspective as kind of like a CTO type, a tech guy who's also able to go out and do these kind of things. So I think it's amazing to have a roster of people that we have that are willing to do it. And I encourage anyone on the Ferrum team who wants to get out and tell their story to go and start doing these things too. I think it's just great.
And you mentioned your background there. So you're a lawyer before getting into crypto, right?
Yes. I was a lawyer. In a previous life, feels like many years ago, because it was probably 5 or 6 years ago now that I practice any law in kind of official capacity. But I used to be a lawyer, and then kind of fell in love with crypto as an investor to start, and then as a professional opportunity in the field of law, started to dabble in that sense. And then I met my co-founder at a networking event in New York, and we hit it off, and started to build products and basically launch Ferrum from there. And that was that was in 2018. So it's like 5 years ago now. Hard to believe.
Yeah. And how was it going from this kind of one of the oldest institutions and more, kind of if there's an industry that goes by the book is advocacy and law, versus going all in on the Wild West crypto and on unlawful, unregulated crypto space, especially back then in 2018, which it was, I think, the last of the ICO wave, right?
Well, there's no shortage of scams or other illegal behaviors happening in this last cycle too. But yeah, I mean, I never really thought about it in that sense. But it is a good point, going from like a very kind of by the book industry to the Wild West of crypto. I mean, definitely, it takes getting used to, right? Like the first time we got scammed, I mean, God, that hurt badly. But the second or fourth time,
about that. You got scammed personally by an ICO or with Ferrum?
No, with like investments that we made and stuff like that.
But that's a tuition fee. That's a tuition fee.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So it hurts the first time.
I want to get when I was starting to when I was building your starter, I got suddenly so concerned of you're doing a due diligence, but what happens if a project that you look like it looks very promising, and then you kind of give them the go, and it turns out to be I don't even want to say a rug pull, but you're putting, when you're doing a platform that is also launching projects, like you do have your kind of your reputation at stake, right?
Yeah, it's really, really hard. And it's one reason why we've gotten a lot more strict actually with the incubator and raising funds for projects, because what I found happens is that a vast majority of cases, the founders did not intend to scam anybody. Most people don't come into things like with an evil
and I think it's very important to make the distinction between a rock pull and a scam and a project that fails, because if you're getting into this space, it's a startup space, and regardless of what we do, there are some things that are beyond us, and 99% of the projects will eventually fail. That's the startup and high-tech scene. That's nothing to do with scams or rock pulls, right?
Yes, very good point. They're two different things, and we've been fortunate that we haven't had too many, I would say, like rug pulls where it looks like things are going fine, and then one day literally they pull liquidity out of the decks and disappear. It's much more common to have a failed project. But what pisses me off is, look, there's been plenty of times when Ferrum could have decided to, we could have been, this is too hard, it's not working, we're going to quit. We're going to, we've given up on Ferrum. There was plenty of times in the early days where we could have done that, right? But we didn't. We just kept pushing. We kept trying different things, even when we weren't able to take salaries for many months because we were running out of money, essentially, at the end of the last, this was the last bear market, excuse me.
You're now no stranger to the bear markets, right? You started in the last bear.
Yeah, we started last bear. We've been through a lot, ups and downs. All sorts of crazy stuff. Has happened to Ferrum and stuff, and we could have given up many times. So that's what upsets me, is when projects, give up too quickly. They mismanage their funds. That's a common thing where you got, things are looking good, whatever. You raise the money for these, the founders, and then they start spending on stupid shit. They're just become irresponsible. And that's what's dangerous. That's what's so hard to, it's hard to know in advance. You can talk to team, you get to know these people. You feel like these are good people. They're not going to mismanage their money. They'll be conservative. They'll be smart. They're not going to give up too quickly. Even if they hit challenges, they'll keep persevering through, and then they surprise you, and they do shit that basically may not be a rug pull, but their project failed. And from the investor standpoint, does it really matter how it failed? Your investment went to zero. Does it matter if they rug
Yeah.
pulled it or just gave up and were mismanaged stuff? So it's really tough. We've tried different ways to solve the problem. I just think that the best way to do it is just be very cautious, be conservative. Don't try to launch too many projects. Don't don't invest too much in any given project, and just understand that a lot will fail. But it is like venture investing. Venture investing is like you're investing in these early stage companies. A lot will fail, but if one does 50x, 100x, whatever, it makes up for the failures. So that's kind of what you're looking for, and you have to accept that there's going to be a lot of losses on that road to that 100x opportunity. But I have not solved that problem yet. I haven't found the
Well,
silver.
blockchain solves for a lot of problem, but it does not solve for human nature, right? And human behavior.
No, well, it does in some respects, right? Because decentralization does solve for like the
It
FTX.
can enforce it can enforce a certain agreement or certain but it doesn't solve for greed, fear, laziness or over how do you say exuberance, hype, and
When you're investing in these early stage companies, especially because you are relying on the individual team members in the early stage. Maybe the project or company gets to a point where it becomes so big that you're not relying on a handful of people. It's its own like living, breathing thing, the entity itself, the project itself. But early on, it's you're relying on these individuals, and you're right. You're subject to the stupidity, the greed, the whatever it is. But on the flip side, look, we've had the opportunity to work with some amazing founders, amazing projects that have pushed through, that did keep
yes,
trying, that did, that kept building. So I'm really proud of a lot of the projects that we've incubated, but there's,
yeah.
a few that just effed off, and it sucks. And, again, I haven't exactly found the solution to that problem yet, but we're working on it. We're working on it every day to get better and
Yeah,
better.
and maybe there isn't, no, and you have to take it for what it is, right? I see that you also became. It's not like you're all only launching the projects and pushing the forward and launching the token, but you're actually becoming an advisor for those projects and personally getting involved. So I think that speaks highly of your intent and your involvement with the projects that you're related with, but. So how does that work? Does it is it kind of how do you view it?
Well, yeah, the fact that we are advising and really kind of embedded within the project in a meaningful way helps de-risk the investors and Ferrum to a great degree, not
Mhm,
100%, of course, because what we found oftentimes is early on when a project is struggling a little bit and we start to help them out, they're very willing to listen to our advice and follow our lead and do the right thing and just follow the experienced person in the situation, which is us.
yeah.
As they get as they raise funds, as they community grows, they get a little bit more hype around them. I think a bit of an arrogance starts to grow, usually within the
Hmm.
team, and they start to ignore the stuff that we're telling them because they feel like, oh, we're doing great. You know, I'm just going to do what I want to do. I'm not going to listen to my advisors. That is unfortunately a common occurrence. And again, it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to solve for. It's, you have to, we have to get better at identifying those tendencies early on
Hmm.
and then trying to figure like, are we seeing some of these tendencies of arrogance and what know it all or on the flip side, are these guys staying humble? Are they very humble? Are they very hungry?
Yeah.
Those are traits that either stick with you. They stick with you, right? And so you have to try to identify them early on. So we're getting better at that. I think our new batch of projects, the founders of those projects, like Agorical, for example, really smart guys. Project's getting a lot of hype right now, but they're still coming to us, with questions. They're still listening to us, and that bodes that to me, that shows me that they're humble and that they don't, they feel they still have some stuff to learn. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
you need to
we
have
I,
that.
we all do. There's no there's no 1, 2, 3 blueprint for making it in Web3 as a founder, right? There's nothing like that. So I think we
There's
should
no
all
ball,
remain
there's no
humble.
launching projects for dummies or something like that that you can just read. It's complicated. It's very, very hard. Extremely hard
I
thing to
I'm
do.
trying I'm trying to do this with the Web3 Creator Dojo. Trying to think of a way to simplify the processes. But it's so complex, and that's not even getting into the different narratives. Like if you're building a DeFi project, the things that you have to look out are totally different than if you're focusing on NFTs or if you're building a game or metaverse. It's like it's within this small little bubble industry. There like different worlds that require specific knowledge and different things to look out for.
Yeah, we're very much of the mindset that we can't do it all. Ferrum does not, like, if project comes to work with Ferrum, as advisory client. Yes, there are certain areas where we excel at, and that's our expertise. And we expect the project to work with us in those areas, like maybe formation of token economics, or certainly if
Mhm.
they want staking technology or vesting technology, they should use our white label solutions. Other things I think we're very good at too, but there's a lot of stuff we're not good at, and for that
Mhm.
we bring on trusted third party providers of maybe marketing services or influencers,
Yeah.
or of course, and all our market maker and exchange partners. Those are not our core business, so we need to partner with others in that sense. So it really takes a village, and it kind of comes
Yeah.
back to like having that humility to say, we can't do it. Even Ferrum has been around for a while, pretty big team, some decent amount of success. Even we
Mhm.
can't do it all when it comes to incubating the project. And we got to bring in, like, I mean, we have a Rolodex of hundreds of contacts across all these different, subsectors of crypto market. And we bring them in to help out the project, because it really takes a village.
Yeah, and I think sometimes that is even more valuable than the race itself, right? When you're able to connect a project with all this network of key pieces in the ecosystem that would probably take them a month or two to get there when it's critical, and you just launch. Getting liquidity for a market provider is essential. You're launching your project and you're not able to reach CoinDesk, Cointelegraph, the usual outlets. You're toast. No one's gonna know about you.
Yeah, and really, and you know, it's a matter of even being able to reach them at all. Like a lot of these companies, maybe CoinDesk might be slightly different, but like a lot of these market makers or VCs, exchanges, you won't even be able to get in contact with them as a new
Yeah,
project.
and
They'll
they're
just go
not even gonna
send them an
the,
email, never get a response. You know what I mean? So you need to go through
in Israel, in Hebrew it's called lo mashtinim alecha. Like they're not going to even pee in your direction for a 500
they really
for a
won't.
500K liquidity pool. It's like,
They really won't. A lot of crypto is, even though it's decentralization, trustless. That's the technology and that's the mantra. But a lot of the industry is sort of still built on trust and trust. I think that's partially because there are a lot of scammers out there, and so
mhm.
you have to be very careful with who you work with, and so you rely on other people that you already trust to have vetted out the project or the VC or whatever. So it's an interesting thing, but that, look, takes a village to launch one of these projects, and we're very fortunate to have a lot of
Definitely.
partners to help us.
Definitely, and I want to touch back on you mentioned the white label staking service, because I think you guys were one of the pioneers that started this kind of staking as a service type of brand, and correct me if I'm wrong, right? Because I've been following I've been in the community for a long time, but I think that was, if not the first, maybe one of the first breakthroughs that you guys reached when in the you were building in the barrel. You told me you were having a hard time at the beginning, and then you found that as a way to actually turn a profit instead of relying on the next tranche of investment, which I think is a critical point for our audience, or the Web3 builders to understand. So take us back to that, take us back to that process.
Yeah, look, it's all about product market fit. It's all about building something that's solving somebody's problem where they want to use it and they're willing to buy it off you, essentially, right? Like that's fundamentally what it comes down to. So in our case, we started Ferrum back in 2018. My co-founder was already working on this kind of elegant solution for blockchain interoperability, being able to connect the Bitcoin and Ethereum networks into this like high speed network that would make Bitcoin, and others easier to transact with. That was the original vision of Ferrum. The problem was that, when we entered the market and we're pitching that idea, it wasn't really resonating, I think, with investors, probably because this was like the end of the ICO boom. Everyone had been burned with these pie in the sky promises about changing the world with crypto and so on. So we kind of needed to like get back to
the
basics.
White paper era.
Yeah, well, exactly. So, and I think people realize, well, Ferrum, that sounds great, but that's not something you're going to be able to build, tomorrow. That's a very complex thing. It's a whole blockchain, whatever. So, and you're a small team, so unrealistic that I'm not investing in that idea, because it was an idea at that point, right? So we had to go back to the drawing board and started like launch products, fast, lightweight products that could that could solve immediate problems, and we could launch them quickly, right? So we started actually with this exchange and payments app in the design for emerging markets. That was our very first product. A lot of people may not remember. It was called First Cootie. We partnered up with investors from Africa to help deploy that and build that out. That was the first product of Ferrum. And we actually we launched it. We were able to scale it to some degree. It was not, however, a good business model because just the people in that region, they don't have a lot of disposable income. It wasn't making a lot of money. So it wasn't, we had to basically discontinue that. So we did, so discontinue that. Then we need to figure out, okay, well, we had another problem, immediate problem to solve at that point, which was how do we support the token price? The token is, people are selling the token. They're not buying it. How do we solve that problem? And so my co-founder very cleverly came up with this, like we called it at the time, lock and earn smart contract, which is basically smart contract staking, where you lock the tokens in a staking pool. Based on how long they're locked for, you earn a set amount of APR. Kind of a simple concept, but it was not a prevalent thing then. DeFi wasn't a word, a well-known term, or maybe even a word at that point. It was like 2019 this happened.
Before farm yield was even a thing.
Yield farming, that was it. Uniswap didn't exist, so there was none of that. It was just this was just single asset staking, lock and earn, we called it, and we launched it for Ferrum. It did really well. The community loved it. It helped revert, the token price, helped reverse the fall of the token price. Like it was really good. And then what happened next was other projects kind of got wind of it. I guess they heard about it because we weren't. It's not like we were pitching it or marketing it to anyone outside the community at that point. But anyway, people found out about it, started to come to us because they wanted it for their token, because they were probably experiencing the same thing, right? Like they didn't have a good token utility, token price falling, they need a solution. So that's really what kind of puts us on the map. A lot of projects coming to us. And since that time, I mean, we've had hundreds of clients, hundreds of millions of TVL going in those pools. It's been a big success for us. But the other thing that it did was it led to the incubator, because projects also need to help with things like marketing, things like investment, things like community growth, all this other stuff that we had some experience in at that point, and that led to the incubator. So it's kind of this nice little story, but it all comes back to, we built something that solved somebody's problem. And unless you do that, if you're not solving
you solved your problem initially, and then you found the good business model and exporting that solution that solved your problem to other projects that were experiencing the same.
That's it. It's
and that's a blueprint, and that's the way to go.
That 100%. If it reminds me actually a story. I was reading a story about Waze, which you probably use Waze to get around. It's an Israeli company. Well,
Yeah, it's
they got
a
bought out by
pride
Google.
and joy of the startup nation.
Exactly. Israelis love Waze, right? And it's the same
Until
thing.
they sold to Google, then everyone's cursing it.
Well, the founders were pretty happy. They pocketed a couple billion.
Yeah, they surely are.
It was the same thing. I think he ended up wanting to build it because he was struggling to get around or he wanted to avoid traffic. That's what it was. Yeah, the founder of Waze was sick of getting stuck in traffic and wanted to avoid traffic. So he was solving his own problem. And it turned out that a lot of people have that problem. And that's a little bit more obvious problem than, because obviously everybody hates traffic. But my point is solve your own problem. And I bet you a lot of other projects have the same problem. And it's exactly what, the mindset around what we're doing now with our mainnet, with the new product we're building called Multiswap. It's, these are solving, a lot of these products are solving our own problems.
Creators, just a quick break from our episode to do a shameless plug of my brand new course, the Web3 Business Creator. Now, this is a great resource to get started in building a new project or a new startup in Web3. We go over the mindset that it requires, the foundation that you need in order to build a team, make a strategy, how to source an idea from your own personal experience, and indeed, the fundamentals of Web3 and what you need to know to get started. So check it out. I'm doing a very special promotion during the bear market, which is Biddle in the Bear. It gives you 80% discount for the first 50 spots. So make use of it and let me know what you think in the comments or DM me. If you subscribe to the course, I'll be contacting you personally so we can have a one-on-one session of what is it that you're trying to build and how can I be of service? Is your mainnet built on Polkadot or where's your mainnet going to run? Or is it a separate chain, different consensus mechanism, the whole 9 yards?
So the consensus mechanism is based on the Polkadot substrate architecture and infrastructure. So that we felt we could tap into that, not have to build out our own consensus. You don't really need to do that anymore. That saved us like probably a year of building, and it's just like, okay, it's out of the box, it works. And then you're tapping into this amazing community as well. So that felt like a really good decision for us in terms of the consensus side. But the kind of the unique value proposition, the technology is our own. And what that is let's just start with the problem. The problem we're trying to solve is it's really twofold. On the kind of the end user side, we're living in a multi-blockchain world right now. There's all these different chains, and oftentimes there's good projects popping up on different chains. You want to invest in them, or you did invest in them. You want to buy or sell, whatever. Right now, you have to rely on all these different bridges. It's kind of a clunky ecosystem right now in terms of,
and it's super tribal. Like I've seen projects moving from projects that were, I think, the DGOS, right, this NFT Solana project moved over to Polygon, and now people that were Solana maxis, they loved DGOS before, but now they hate them because they moved them to another chain.
The tribalism is maybe a little bit harder to solve than the technology part, because I can't solve for human nature, people being tribal. But I do feel like, as an end user, a lot of people are what I would call blockchain agnostic. They don't, there's some maxis out there who, I only love this chain, right? And okay, so they're just going to be on that chain. But there's a lot of people, the vast majority of people they have BSC stuff, they have Ethereum stuff, they got Polygon stuff, at times Solana stuff. I think, Arbitrum's pretty hot right now. There's a lot of different chains out there. There hasn't been really an elegant solution for connecting those chains in terms of, assets, moving assets across and between chains. So multi-swap is a big part of that. So the solution of that problem of swapping assets across chains. I can talk about multi-swap in a second. But for the mainnet, that's also a problem we're solving on the mainnet side. But the bigger problem that we're solving on the mainnet side, and this goes back to what I was talking about before about solving our own problems, which are also other people's problems, is if you're a developer in the crypto space and you want to build on different chains it's very, very hard to do that unless it's EVM compatible chains, in which case it's not that hard. But if it's non-EVM compatible, it's very hard to build a DApp that's going to work on Ethereum and in the same manner. You can deploy, just deploy that code also and have it work on Algorand or Solana. Like that doesn't exist yet, and we know this is a problem because we do this a lot. We build out our products on different chains, and it's very, very hard. It takes us months, and we had to hire specialized developers.
EOS just launched their EVM, after what, 5 years, and just because the Dan kind of left, and then Eve, who took over, had a different mindset about the need for EOS to be EVM compatible, and until just recently, there was no EVM for EOS, so we weren't even in the game, right? And now we just
very isolated at that point.
Yeah,
you need to not be isolated. And so what the Ferrum Network is designed to do is be kind of a one-stop shop for developers. So you go to the Ferrum Network, and you can deploy your DApp, your smart contracts on the Ferrum Network, and then using and this goes back to the proprietary part of what we're building. We built something called Quantum Portal, which basically will allow that smart contract to work on a different chain in a very seamless way. So you just build on the Ferrum Network, and it's gonna and then that smart contract you can also deploy that very easily on these different chains.
And does that apply for like any kind of transactions and functionality, or just asset transfers?
No, it's whole smart contracts. That's the big innovation, because asset transfers, we think that's already being solved for to a large degree including by Ferrum with multi-swap. Multi-swap allows for asset transfers. This is like data transfers. This is smart contract transfers you can think of, right? So deploy your smart contract could be complex, very complex smart contract, but by using Ferrum Network technology, it can work seamlessly on these other different chains as well, which I think is really important. It's going to only get more important as the industry grows and these ecosystems grow. And if you're a developer, if you're a project, you want to tap into these different ecosystems. Like, how much I would love it if Ferrum could get exposed to the EOS community, right? Or the
of course. Well, I'm the guy for that. But yeah, let's speak about you touched on when we're speaking cross-chain compatibility. We have to speak about the bridges, and the bridges have been so far our biggest security pain point in the blockchain industry, like by far. If we just take into account Ronin and Wormhole and what, it's like eventually that becomes the honeypot. It's obvious that it's going to be attacked day by day until it's somehow compromised, broken, millions of dollars or billions of dollars lost. And how do we tackle that? Like, bridges are eventually like this, they eventually become a honeypot. So how do you guys respond to that?
That is a huge problem, and as you probably know, Ferrum has we already have a bridge that has been in existence for probably a year and a half now, and it's done hundreds of millions of dollars of transactions between various different chains. So
it was, I think, Binance Smart Chain, right, at first.
Yeah. Sorry, I gotta plug my computer in. BSC, Ethereum, Polygon, Avalanche. I think maybe one or two others. We actually stopped working on the bridge because multi-swap is really an evolution of the bridge, but has a lot greater functionality. So we were focusing now on multi-swap, which now is in a private alpha test setting. We should be able to launch that within the next few months. So that's what we're focusing on now. But the bridge, why do we build our bridge? Why do we ultimately why we build multi-swap? Because of the problem you identified, the honeypot problem. Has been basically, it's been irresistible for hackers. No bridge, it seems like, has been immune to that problem.
It's like, yeah. So do you still have hundreds of millions in TVL on the bridge? Like the one you stopped working?
That's the key, right? So the way we build our bridge is that there's never a honeypot. essentially. There's a very, very small one, maybe of, $50,000 or something,
Just
because
like a buffer of liquidity
it's
or
like a
what?
liquidity. So it relies on liquidity pools,
Mm-hmm.
which are not held, like they're not held. So basically how it works is this. If you want to move your, say $500 of BSC Ferrum over to Ethereum Ferrum, you utilize the bridge, and there's a small liquidity pool that holds some tokens on BSC and holds some tokens on Ethereum. And so if I'm depositing my BSC, it automatically extracts and withdraws out of the Ethereum pool to then deposit that Ethereum Ferrum into your wallet. And then when somebody does a flip back, it ends up balancing itself out like that as liquidity pool. And in that sense, there's never this big honeypot that's growing. It's always kind of staying very low. So that core concept.
How how often, or do you have to go in and balance it out if there's suddenly a lot of action towards one
Correct.
specific
Yeah,
chain?
there's sometimes a need to do a rebalancing, we call it, and we've automated that functionality. So when it gets the liquidity gets low on one side, it does an automatic rebalancing. So we've been able to solve for that. That's not too
Mhm.
hard. So, but the nice
And
thing is that
you haven't experienced attacks on the bridge?
I don't believe that we have. No one's there. If
Or
we
there is
have, I
no,
don't know
or
that we
it
have.
doesn't even get
I
attractive
don't
enough
know that we
to try and
have.
crack it?
I don't think that we have, and I don't know that we have. Certainly, if there has been an attack, it hasn't been successful, and it hasn't been. We haven't been aware that it's happening, right? So, that to me is it's a good sign. My feeling is it was built in a very secure way, first of all, and then secondly, because there is no honeypot, hackers likely not going to spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to exploit it. They'd rather try to figure out how to exploit the one that has hundreds of millions of dollars sitting in it, which that's what they
Right.
do. They go after those. So,
Mhm.
the bridge is built really with these ideas in mind, and then we kind of apply those same principles to multi-swap. Multi-swap
Okay.
is kind of, you could say, an evolution of the bridge, but with a lot more functionality, a lot better functionality. Because instead of just one for one asset transfer, so like I have my 500 Ferrum, I want to get it from here to here. Now it's I have an Ethereum over on Ethereum chain, but I want to buy Ferrum over on BSC chain because I want BSC Ferrum has I can stake in Crucible, whatever the case may be. With multi swap, click of a button, you're able to do that through a routing protocol that we built, which basically routes tokens. Ultimately, is able and you're able to buy the BSC Ferrum, the liquidity of which is sourced directly from PancakeSwap, or Uniswap, depending on the case.
Where is that? But where is that? So where does that Ethereum on the Ethereum chain end up?
So yeah, how that works is we use USDC as the routing token. But how it basically works, is you you input, okay, I got my Ethereum, I want to sell for Ethereum. Okay, cool. And that's on the UI. Okay, click, sell, whatever. Happening in the back end, so to speak, in the background, that Ethereum is first sold for USDC Ethereum on Ethereum chain.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's bridged over, the USDC is bridged over to USDC on BSC chain.
Mm-hmm.
And then that USDC is used to buy the Ferrum on BSC chain. So it's a routing process. It's like, and it routes.
Yeah. I get it. It's like you're using USDC as your relay, which is quite interesting. I think it's a very clever way to solve for it. Unless because USDC is owned by Circle and Binance delisted USDC, and they wanna they wanna start doing some funny stuff.
The routing token. That's the good part. We can switch the routing token, and it's funny because we there's always this competing FUD, USDT FUD, or now it's USDC FUD.
And now it's going to be BUSD FUD.
Yeah, it seems like there's always FUD around these stablecoins. So when we made the decision to do, we felt USDC was more trustworthy. People like that one more. It's like, let's just use USDC. And then like a month later, all this FUD decides to come out on USDC, and we're like, oh God, maybe we should have done USDT. But I'm sure in a month from now it'll be FUD on USDT, and then people will get USDT. Yeah. So, look, my feeling on that topic is if either of those two blow up in the fashion of like an FTX, the whole industry is effed for like 5 years. Like, just pack it up. Bitcoin's going to like, I don't want to say zero, but it's going really, really low. Everything's gonna be destroyed.
Were you guys affected by either the Luna collapse or FTX at Ferrum?
Not directly. No, we never. The Luna thing was a Ponzi, from just anyone who, wait, so where do those yields come from? And no one really had a good answer. It's like, okay, that thing's a Ponzi. That's never going to work. So immediately just wrote that off.
In hindsight, it was pretty obvious Ponzonomics based stablecoin, but you have to accept also that at certain point, the storing your dollars in UST for the yield was the actual consensus trade in the industry. And that's what gave Luna its market cap at that time.
A lot of people bought it. A lot of
got institutional investors in as well.
Yeah, I never personally, like, anytime something is too good to be true, it usually is. That's kind of especially in crypto. I'm a very, I'm a trusting guy, but I'm also a skeptical guy. And that one always
you have to maintain a good level of skepticism, otherwise,
yeah, you lose all very and you start chasing these yields and stuff. So we were always very conservative with our own capital. We were never investing in stuff like that. I never personally invested in like that. FTX, same thing. We never keep our money on centralized exchanges except what we need to just keep a liquid market off for the Ferrum token. So we were not impacted by those things directly at all. Of course, the market crash did impact Ferrum and our businesses, and we had to cut
salaries. That affected all of us, of course.
Yeah, so I mean, we were impacted by it, but we did not directly lose money. Let's just put it that way.
And you were not working with Alameda or Sam Bankman-Fried in any type of relationship for
No. One of the companies that we work with on the incubator side had some discussions with Alameda at one point, but nothing ever came of it. And it's funny because Alameda was, at the time I was so excited. Oh wow, I got a meeting with Alameda.
They had their hands on everything.
Yeah, it was like a good thing. I remember I was psyched about it. Oh yeah, great. This is gonna, I hope they get investment from them, so on and so forth. Thank God
they were. Sam was actually the actual kingmaker for a good while there during the bull run. Right? He was you got if you get investment from Alameda, you're good to go. People. It's hard to look back at that after the collapse, but before it was like Alameda invested. Well, I guess we're in. And it was this wave of It was a stamp of approval before the collapse.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of lessons on that, right? Like.
A lot.
I think we need to be very hesitant to start naming someone kingmaker. Anytime you're relying on one individual for that much, for anything, for your success, for whatever, for a whole industry, I mean, that just spells trouble. It spells trouble. Look, sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you get a guy. I mean, I still think
and it goes against the ethos, of what we're trying to build. We are precisely trying to. What are we trying to eliminate the middleman and then make a middleman the lord of the overlord?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I think a lot of it though is human nature. People, they're drawn to leaders. They want a good story. It's tough to get around that completely. But I feel like the silver lining with the FTX debacle and implosion, and I hope he goes to prison for a really long time, is that we've learned that lesson in a very acute way. Don't trust any one individual. We have the tools to be much more decentralized. You can own your own crypto. It's not that hard to set up a ledger. You get back to basics here. And remember why.
There are already MPT wallets, like Zengo and others that are really good at not even having you to store your own 24 keyword phrase, but at the same time not having them being the owners of your crypto. So, MPC technologies, I think it's
on the side, not custodial. Yeah, absolutely. There's no excuse to keep your money on exchange. Exactly. I hope that's the lesson, everybody learns from it. And let's just get back to basics and remember why this technology is so impactful and is going to make a difference in the world. It's because of decentralization. So let's not get back to that centralized nonsense.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. I agree with you there. Ian, listen, you guys have made the best out of the last bear market and propelled yourselves, from a dire situation into a successful project and growing community. Are you looking forward to doing that again in this bear market? Tell us a bit about the strategy. Are you optimistic? Are you looking forward? Are you I don't want to say complacent, but are you at least in a place where we've been here, we can do this, or do you say, hey, listen, let's not rest for a minute. We don't know how long this is gonna last, and here is how we not only survive this, but we actually take a larger market share, or this is our approach, or what are your thoughts there? How are you guys approaching this bear?
Yeah, I think we took a lot of lessons from the last bear and then applied it to this one. But still keeping, we have sort of one of our core principles or identities of Ferrum is just to be conservative by nature. Like I'm a pretty conservative person in general. My co-founder is too. We're not like, we did quit corporate jobs to do a crypto startup. So I guess we're not that conservative by normal people's standards, but by crypto people's standards, we're relatively conservative, I think. So
you're conservative on a degen scale.
Exactly. Yeah. Relative to crypto degens, we're pretty conservative, believe it or not. So, but that served us very well in the last bear and served us well in this one. I think the big difference now is that because we had success in the bull market, and we were able to make good money in that market, we were able to scale the team now. Think about Ferrum back maybe when you first started in the Gem Hunter days or 2019, whatever. There's, I think, 7 or 8 people on the whole team, and there were 2 developers. There's myself, Dom, who was our marketing CMO at the time, and a couple of admins. Basically, that was it. Like that was the team. It was very small.
And you were still, and I gotta hand it to you because even I was turning to you for specific things about this pre-sale or the other pre-sale, and you're handling, I guess not only my request but everyone there. So
it was a busy bull market. It was a super busy bull market, but I loved it. It was great. It was fun. A lot of lessons from that bull market. But anyway, but how we're approaching this bear is like, now that we have a big team and we got some really, really smart people on the team, they're all adding different, value and bringing different things to the table. And so we've able, I think, to be conservative, but still have a really strong vision and still have a really strong dev team that's going to help us get to that, like, propel us into the next bull market in a very positive way. So like, instead, a lot of teams maybe just go full hibernation mode, where they let most people go. They're not really building stuff. They're kind of just hibernating, whatever. We kind of, I think, struck a middle ground. We continue to be conservative. We did have to let people go. We cut everybody's salaries by half, including mine and the other executives. Everybody's salaries got cut by half. But we kept building. We kept focusing on the vision. So multi-swap kept getting built. Our integrations team, and their job is to build Ferrum technology onto these different chains, and we get paid to do that by those chains give us grants to do that. They kept working. Mainnet team, we were even able to hire a senior dev to join the team building a mainnet, which is very complex technology. So we're able to continue with the vision, continue building forward while saving money, I think, and scaling back certain things. Like we scaled back a lot of the incubation stuff because projects weren't launching, so on and so forth. So kind of taking a dual approach to that, conservative, but also continue to build and focus on things that we think are going to propel us into the next bull. So I think it'll work. We still have a decent amount of runway left, which I'm happy about. This turn.
I am confident it will work. Yeah, I'm sure it will work. But are you eyeing a specific product or launch that you're saying, okay, this is going to be, I think, our flagship for Ferrum on the next few months? Can you give us a scoop?
There's 3 things I'm looking forward to in the next, say, 3 months. And this is in an order of when I think they're going to launch. The first is our a new and really fully revamped white paper with the updated vision of Ferrum, with information about how to run nodes on the Ferrum network, with all sorts of what it is that we're building, why we're building. It's like 50 pages long. It's really I think it's a masterpiece, and it's still a work in progress.
It's not only for hardware geeks, right? You can like run a cloud node and stuff.
You can run a cloud node. Absolutely. You can run a cloud
Nice.
node. And then and that's version 1. And then version 2 is going to be run a node. We want it to be able to run a node just straight from like your MetaMask, your cold wall, like super simple. Anybody can do it, right? That's the version 2 we're hoping for we're aiming for mainnet and nodes. Anyway, so the white paper is coming out. That is coming out within the next 2 to 3 weeks. And it's
Nice.
so it's January 25th today. We're targeting I think second week of February. So like that's really when it should be out. Give us a buffer or whatever of a few days. But that's white paper. That's a big thing, because that's all of a sudden now people are gonna be able to see Ferrum is building a mainnet. This is serious. This is how you can run nodes. How many Ferrum tokens you'll need to stake to run a node. What projections, projected rewards they can expect. All this stuff is there. So that's super exciting. The next thing is going to be, I should say number 2, is going to be multi-swap. So multi-swap is in a kind of private alpha test setting right now. It's actually on the mainnet because I was able to use it myself, and you can buy and sell
that could be like industry broad big, like if it solves it properly.
I think it could definitely be on par with like our staking product of back in the day, where it does make a big impact in the market, because there are other solutions that are similar to it, but they haven't made a big market penetration yet. A lot of people don't even know about this. They don't even know what the category of this product is, but technically they call it a multi-chain DEX aggregator, because it taps some liquidity, aggregates.
And I have heard that term in the narrative. But
okay, but you're deep in the space, right? A lot of people, we're talking to people, founders, for
newcomers and from the outer space, it sounds more like
yes, but here's why I'm super encouraged, because when we tell people what it does, which is okay, you can take your stable coin on this chain, press of a button, and buy random token on other chain. They're like, oh shit, I need that. I need to do that. Oh, you got random shitcoin. You got shitcoin on BSC, and you need but you're you need to sell it for Ethereum on Ethereum mainnet, because that's how you cash out from Coinbase or whatever. Boom, click of a button, sell your shitcoin for Ethereum, ends up in your wallet, in Coinbase. By the way, another feature of that product, which I think is amazing, is so how most DEXs work. When you buy a token or sell a token, you're doing it all from your same one wallet. But with multi-swap, you can actually you can initiate a transaction on your MetaMask, for example, but have the tokens automatically sent to a different wallet that you own, your cold storage wallet, for example. So you can send the tokens to a different address from the one you initiated the transaction from. That's pretty freaking cool.
So it's like a swap and a transfer at the same time, like on an atomic operation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you want to describe that, but like that I mean, that sounds pretty accurate.
No, that sounds amazing. I don't know how you do it, but yeah. So I guess I see how it's like it's possible, but it sounds cool.
It's really cool, and it's like one of those things where it has little, multi-swap has these little features in it that I think are unique, and I think users will, they'll figure out ways that they're using it in different ways, and so on and so forth. So it's like really cool product. Anyway, so that is in alpha now. We're gonna be onboarding a new batch of alpha testers. I'd love to invite you to that. Hernan,
love to be a part of.
Yeah, it's going to be super exciting. We already introduced you to our governance council, so they've already been able to test it and so on, and they've been talking about it, raving about it. So that's next 2 to 3 months should finally be launched in like a beta. We're going to do a big marketing campaign around it, all this stuff to really, push the word out. So I think that could be a big product for Ferrum. And then the third thing that's coming in the next 2-3 months is the testnet, Ferrum Network testnet, which, I talked before a little bit about its core functionality, being able to, deploy a smart contract on Ferrum chain, work on other chains. We have kind of an early version of that already working on the testnet, where you can deploy like a staking contract and have it, or what you can do is you can stake tokens on chain A, but earn rewards on chain B, which is pretty cool. It's like an early functionality of the mainnet technology.
And would that be a testnet specific for the people building on the Ferrum network, or is it like a testnet that you would say that there are even some advantages from utilizing as your testnet instead of the Wrinkleby or other, mainnet, Ethereum or other chain testnets?
That's a good question. I don't know exactly what our plan is, but I mean, what we've spoken about doing is kind of like this incentivized testnet concept, where we're actually being able to, we want to incentivize usage of the testnet to kind of showcase the technology, get some excitement going around it with some Ferrum tokens, in anticipation of mainnet launch and being able to stake and run nodes and so on. So I don't know if I answered your question properly, but that's kind of the plan for testnet, which again, I think should be out in the next 2, 3, 4 months. And so we're looking, the next, let's say, 6 months, you say we're delayed on some things, which is quite possible. Next 6
Can't
months.
happen. No, it's
so we got mainnet, multi-swap, white paper, multi-swap, testnet. And that's going to be hopefully followed by mainnet not that long after that. That's pretty big 2023 for Ferrum.
No, it sounds amazing, Ian. I'm super looking forward, and I cannot let you go without your best 3 tips, tricks, or pitfalls to avoid, or things to have in mind. Your best 3 kind of advices that you would give Web3 builders that are starting out on their journey.
Okay, so first tip is, first of all, you need to have the right mindset. This market is very challenging to operate in and succeed in over the long haul. The ups and downs, not being able to raise funds in a bear market to all of a sudden being flush with funds in the bull. How do you handle those swings emotionally, mentally? You have to be kind of even keeled. And you have to have come in for the right reasons. If you came in just to like make a quick buck, we don't want you. We don't need you. Get out of the space. Just be an investor, whatever that is. Don't try to be a builder, because that's not the mindset that you need to have. You're setting yourself up for failure if that's why you're doing it. So that's first thing is have the right mindset. Second thing is goes back to what we spoke about. I think is be trying to solve real problems. Don't just be like, oh, I'm building a game. It's like no one wants to play your game. Like, come on, let's just be realistic. Unless you build like an amazing game. Some games people
want to build games, and I think it's solving for a general problem of boredom and kind of entertainment. But if you're able to figure out a problem that the general gaming industry has, that's a bigger opportunity, right?
Absolutely. Always be looking to solve like genuine pain points, not just like,
exactly.
It's a good point about I'm not saying nothing wrong with gaming, and there's been some cool blockchain games built, and I'm sure it'll get built, and that's a fine sector. No, I don't want to disparage anyone building over there, but to me, like a real pain point is like, something that you as an investor, a user, a founder, like a problem that you have or that others have that's a real acute problem. If you think about how to solve those kind of problems, you got to have that mentality of solving real problems. And you may not get it right the first time, because a lot of times you'll build something, you think it was a problem, but turns out, it doesn't pick up adoption. And then that then comes to my third piece of advice, which is you got to stay, you got to be able to persevere. You're going to hit roadblocks. problems. Your product's not going to be good. You're not going to be able to raise funds. You're not getting attention. No one cares about your project. They want to invest in meme coins instead. Whatever the case may be, you're going to run into all these freaking problems, and you have to be able to persevere through them. Right? You can't just be thin-skinned and just give up quickly because we ran couldn't raise funds or now. That's not to say you shouldn't take that feedback. You should take that feedback, right. But pivot a little bit, right? Like, imagine if Ferrum was still trying to make our first product work because we were super stubborn, and we know that's
and I think there's a very important difference to make between pivoting and quitting, right? Like, there's a huge difference.
That's what I mean. Yeah, don't quit. Be willing to pivot, change. And then keep going and test a new idea. Mm-hmm. And eventually, you will hit on something. And Ferrum's a perfect poster child of that. Like, we worked for a year plus on the first Cootie product, tried to make it work, wasn't really working. And so we ultimately pivoted, and that led to staking, which was our, we had success there finally. So just keep trying, keep persevering, have the right mindset, don't give up. Those are the most important things, I think, if you're going to be successful in the crypto space as a builder.
Ian, listen, this has been an amazing episode, and it's all because of you. I want to thank you so much. You bring such a good live and such a good vibe, and this is after another podcast you went in, so I appreciate the
it's a busy day of podcast.
Yeah, but we have a very unique and special connection that you don't have otherwhere in anywhere in the space, right?
Absolutely, and I really appreciate your support over the years. Always. I mean, it's incredible how long you've been in the Ferrum community. Please, don't be a stranger to hit us up when you want to become an alpha tester in the next batch. You'll see announcements.
Yeah, not only that, we'll explore other ways that I can, bring in the energy and the joy and the good vibes, to the community. So, thank you very much for being here, Ian. I send you a lot of love and a huge hug. And keep them building. Let's get ready for the next boom.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to see you in real life. I will be in your country of Israel, in sometime in 2023. I don't know when. We'll have to link up and maybe do an in-person podcast.
So your tour in Netanya is on me, okay?
Appreciate it so much, Hernan. We'll talk soon, man.
All right, mate. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Please keep in mind that none of what's said in this podcast should be considered financial advice. You are strongly recommended to do your own research and do not take anything we say in this podcast as a recommendation to buy or sell any assets whatsoever.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Web3 Creators Podcast. Make sure you follow us on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all of your favorite platforms. And if you're serious about building your own Web3 business, head over to web3creatordojo.com and check out our courses. That's web3creatordojo.com. See you soon, creators.